GOLD participants from around the world. I'm Kristen Schwartz, licensed midwife and MC for GOLD Learning, and I'm chatting today with Yeshi Neumann about her upcoming presentation, Healing from a Difficult, Disappointing, or Traumatic Birth. Welcome, Yeshi.
Thank you, Kristen.
It's so wonderful to have you here with us today. Yeshi, can you tell us a little bit about your professional journey and how this particular topic became of interest to you?
Mhm. My journey with this topic, Kristen, began with my own birth, which was a healing and transformative experience for me. Up to that point in my life, I had never felt as much joy, connection, and power as I did giving birth. After I birthed my daughter, I believed I could do anything. So I heard myself say in moments after my birth, I'm going to be a midwife. And I became a midwife so I could facilitate that kind of birth experience that I had had for other women. And then I became a nurse midwife specifically so I could work in a hospital and help provide this kind of birth experience for all kinds of women, including those who did not have the economic or social privilege to give birth at home, as I did. So, as midwives, we know that when a woman gives birth, she's deeply wide open, and she's open to experience the healing, transformative power of birth. And she's also vulnerable to experience profound wounding. In my years of work as a midwife, I've come to know so many women for whom giving birth was an experience of wounding. So about 15 years ago, I began facilitating groups for women healing from difficult, disappointing, or traumatic births. My passion to share the kind of transformative healing that I experienced during birth really was the same passion that fueled my healing work with mothers and care providers. My deep desire for women to reclaim the joy, connection, and empowerment that I believe is our birthright as women giving birth.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, and we can really hear your passion for this topic on this particular topic. Now, let me ask you this: we now acknowledge there is such a thing as traumatic birth or birth trauma. That used to be a topic that was really more in the shadows. I remember a time when we all said, "Oh, she has a healthy baby. You know, as long as the mommy and baby are healthy, who cares what kind of birth she has?" And so on. So, when you are shining light on that topic, what kind of barriers have you personally encountered?
Hmm. Well, I think that just as you say, Kristen, the message that's out circulating in our culture is that a woman is really just a vehicle for getting her baby born. It really doesn't matter what her experience is. And the way that that's talked about is get over it, forget about it, that's in the past, move on with your life. You have a healthy baby, that's all that matters. But the truth is that this message actually is very damaging to women because it uh, it drives the wound that they're already suffering even deeper because they feel that what they're feeling is itself wrong and there's something wrong with them. So what I believe, and I know the value of this conference, that it is a value of this conference, is that a woman's experience deeply matters, that she is precious, and that not only that, that the kind of birth experience she has, how she relates to her birth experience, how she feels to it, has deep consequences throughout her whole life. Consequences for her sense of self, for her mothering, for her grandmothering, for her relationship with her partner, her relationship with her whole family, and for her being in the world, her work in the world, and how she lives in the world. So all that is to say that this topic and the need for healing for women is a way of shining light into the value of women's subjective experience and its deep consequences for her life and how she takes leadership in a world that needs women's leadership.
I love what you just said about how a woman perceives her birth has deep implication to her life, and and not only for her mothering but also her grandmothering. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about the whole topic as well. And
Can
what?
I add one thing, Kristen?
Yes, of course you can.
I wanted to also add that there's a view in our culture that time heals all wounds. And my own belief is that actually time doesn't heal. That time covers over wounds, it buries them, it scabs over them. But that healing is a very active process. And it's what we do with time that encourages or hinders healing. So that's another reason why it's so important to do that healing work after a difficult, disappointing, or traumatic birth.
Those are very wise words, Yashi. I really enjoyed that. Also, what can you tell us? What do you hope our delegates will take away from your presentation?
I hope they take away the importance of this topic. For mothers, I hope that, especially if they are still suffering from a difficult, disappointing, or traumatic birth, that they get a glimmer of the possibility of healing and how they can reclaim some of the joy and connection and empowerment that is possible in birth, that they can do that in doing healing work around their own birth. And for care providers, I hope also that they come away with a renewed sense of how important their care is, not only during their birth, a woman's birth, which I know will be very emphasized throughout this conference, but how important the care is that they give to women after the birth, that they be very proactive in really delving into with a woman what her experience has been and what she is coming away with, so that they can be there as a support for her healing. And then the third thing is that care providers, we ourselves, experience difficult, disappointing, and traumatic births as care providers. And there's very little place for us to do our own healing work so that we're not carrying that experience of difficult, disappointing, or traumatic birth into the next birth that we are attending.
Well, thank you so much, Yashi. And you're right. Yes, care providers do also suffer from attending a difficult or traumatic or disappointing, birth. So providers, they grieve for the mom. They see what's going on, and they need afterwards healing too, and also to know how to care for that mom who had that difficult or traumatic birth. Well, thank you, Yashi, for chatting with me today. It was an absolute pleasure. And Yashi's presentation, Healing from a Difficult, Disappointing, or Traumatic Birth, is part of our GOLD Midwifery 2017 online conference. And the live presentation will be available on Monday, February 13. For more information on this presentation and on the other presentations, please go to www.goldmidwifery.com. Thank you so much for listening today, and bye for now.